I started with going to university for 3 years in Brisbane. I studied a Bachelor of Sound Design, and during the course just decided to start in live sound, mixing cover bands and working for anyone that needed me. Started doing Soundwave Festival. It was a big touring festival in Australia, and met a band from Sydney, a metal band, and started touring. And it was one of the first international tours that I did where I met Bring Me. So we came and supported them for, I think it was like 2 weeks, in the middle of a 6-week tour that they were doing. Bring Me are a 6-piece band, 5 members, 1 session musician. There's drums, keyboard, electronics, 2 guitars, bass, and Ollie the singer. All on in-ears. That wasn't the case when I started. Ollie only transitioned onto in-ears at the beginning of this album cycle. So 6 stereo in-ears, some side fills, some subs underneath the bigger risers for the bigger shows. All of them have drastically different tastes. Like Jordan, coming from a studio background, likes everything nice and clean, has very particular input on compression. The guitarist Lee loves a rock show. Same with the session guitarist JJ. They like it to be nice and loud. Even though the guitar cabs are ISO, the side fills are quite loud just for the feel. Matt, the drummer, likes a big 80s reverb drum kit, so he's washed in reverb for the whole show. Matt Keane, the bassist, only really listens to about kick, snare, and some click track. He's just very isolated, so he concentrates on what he's doing. And Ollie, he wants to hear everything that everyone's doing, including him, very present in the mix and always able to cut through, even if he goes from a whisper, because he's constantly switching from screaming to singing to whispering. So he's always needs his voice to cut through. I've been using the Allen Heath dLive for about 8 months. It works really well with Bring Me because it's a really quick surface to get your head around. The way that you can drive the desk, you don't have to be worrying about if it's only sitting in green. You can start to push it harder and know that it's just gonna sound good no matter what you do with it. I've started using on this tour quite a lot the dynamic EQ on Ollie's voice because he goes from such a quiet to loud range constantly during the show. I basically put him in a brick wall of compression, and he can whisper a sentence and it will cut in his mix, and then he could scream as loud as he can, and the EQ will basically enable me to make it's not too muddy when he's whispering, it's not too thin when he's screaming. Another thing we've been using is the doubler on Ollie's voice, especially with some of the newer songs. It's sort of like a phasery effect. It's a little bit lower and a little bit higher in pitch, and it's basically on an auxiliary that I just feed into only him. But it's sort of just a taste thing. It's something that fills out his mix as well on top of the reverb. I use a range of different compressors on the dLive. I have the 160T on my inputs for a lot of my drums and some of my vocals. But the Opto comp is sort of the comp that I've gone to for a little bit more control on the output of their mixes. Over the last 8 months, I've gone onto every Allen Heath surface for the dLive. Primarily on the 5000, just for the size of the stages, and like we did the festival season this year, and it was great to be able to roll in on one case. But we had a couple fly shows where I had a 3000 come in. We did the Royal Albert Hall with a full orchestra, and I went to a 7000 for that just because we went up to 128 inputs on that show, so the bigger surface was easier to move around. But the show file has transitioned across all those shows very simply. In the UK, we've got SSE that's been able to send us out the 5000, the 3000 whenever we need. We're on the DM64 mix rack. And over in America, same again with VER. Everywhere we've gone, basically, we've been able to get it. In Australia, we went to a 7000 through JPJ Audio. When we took it out over the summer, as soon as I basically turned it on and chose to have it purple, everyone's coming up and asking me about it, and everyone seems to like it. It's quick, it's fast, sounds great.